All right, and it comes in a bunch of different shapes. We'll talk about some of those as we go. Let no one cheat you. This is amazing. Let nobody cheat you of your reward. I love the word cheat. It's the only time Paul uses it in the Greek. It's the Greek word katabrabeo. Anybody's ever heard me preach the message, Peace Like an Umpire? It's one of my favorite sermons. It's from deeper in chapter 3 where Paul says, let the peace of God rule your heart like an umpire. And let the peace of God rule your heart is brabeo. Let the peace of God, brabeo, let the peace of God rule you like an ump. That's the only place he uses it. He uses kata brabeo in Colossians chapter 2, verse 18, and it's in the English it's translated as the word cheat. But brabeo means umpire. So kata brabeo, kata is a Greek prefix that always is a downward connotation. Let me give you an example. Krima is the one I always like to use. Krima is the Greek word for judge. How many of you know, aren't you glad God is your judge? I'm glad God took the judgment. I'm glad God does the judging. Krima. Kata krima is the English word condemnation. Down judge. It's to look down on you in judgment. Brabeo is peace. Let the peace of God rule your heart. Brabeo, umpire. Brabeo means umpire, I'm sorry. Let the peace of God ump you. Let the peace of God tell you how to live. Kata brabeo is a downward ump. It's the word cheat. Don't let anybody else in your life umpire you. Don't let anybody else in your life cheat you out of your reward. Taking delight. Now here comes religion. I was a specialist at this verse. Okay, I got a feeling a few of you were as well, and I got a feeling we all fall back under that shadow once in a while. And the coolness of how it feels to have false humility. They had the worship of angels. I'm not going to get into that. We do our own worshiping of a bunch of stuff. Intruding into stuff we have not seen, vainly puffed up in our fleshly mind. Jeremiah did a grand slam job today on pride and what that does to grace. I'm not even going to touch it. Go watch that. Not holding fast to the head, with whom all the body, nourished and knit together by joints and ligaments, grows with the increase that's from God. We got a lot of ground to cover. Don't have time to slow down too much. Therefore, if you die, how many of you know if there's a therefore, find out what it's there for? All right? So in this case, you already know what it's there for. The fact that Jesus has took all that out of the way, and you're not letting anybody judge down umpire you based upon the fact that you've moved past the shadow and you've moved into the substance. Therefore, if you died with Christ, how many of you died with Christ? All right, be careful, because if you died with Christ, you have a therefore. So now you better do something with what you just understand, okay? If you died with Christ from the basic principles of the world, why, as though living in the world, do you subject yourselves to the world's regulations? Let me read it again. There was a huge if. If you died with Christ from the basic principles of the world, why, as though living in the world? How many of you live in the world? So why does he say why, as though living in the world? Because he's not meaning that some of you live on another planet. He's meaning, what system do you live after? If you live on the world and you live, the world has three basic things in the 21st verse that define their principles. Give me verse 21. It looks exactly like my Sunday morning go to meeting. This is how I was raised right here. You ready? Do not touch it. Do not taste it. Do not handle it. This text did not say that's the basic principles of God. This text said that's the basic principles of the world. That's the way the world views morality right there. By what you touch, by what you taste, by what you handle, or better said, by what you refuse to touch, by what you refuse to taste, and where you refuse to go. And they'll say, that guy's a good Christian because I've never heard him say this, and I've never seen him go there, and I've never watched him drink that, and I've never seen him eat that, and I know he won't hang out with so-and-so, and I know he doesn't do that. And we love the false humility that comes with it. I mean, we just go, God, oh, thank you, Jesus, I didn't chew juicy fruit during the invitation. Thank you, Jesus, that we didn't Windex our altar and everybody else Windex their altar. I used that one from a few moments ago, right? Man, it makes a man feel good. If he's wrapped up in the hamster wheel of religion, it makes a man feel good, keep verse 21, doesn't it? Makes a man feel good. Your flesh is excited about it because you've got something tangible that you can put your hands on the end of the day and say you did not do. You've got a mental, spiritual checklist at the end of the day that you can go, didn't do that, didn't say that, didn't go there. And it becomes very easy then to just go fall right into the pattern of self-righteousness because it's easy to just find people in your community that do all that stuff and say, well, I know I'm not doing great, but man, I'm better than so-and-so. Because every time I see that guy, he's handling that, touching that, and tasting that. And God knows you're never going to make it to heaven if you live like that. And Paul just throws an amazing curveball to us in this passage and says, that's not holiness. That's shadow living. And it looks just like the world. Why would you subject yourself, he said. Why would you subject yourself to the regulation of do not touch, do not taste, do not handle? I tell you why I would subject myself. Because that's what God demands out of me, preacher. That's what, is that what anybody else would have said? That's what I would have said. I'll tell you right now why you subject yourself to it. And yet Paul says, this is not what God demands at all. He's already crucified the law. He's already put it on the cross and moved it out of your way. Why would you let anybody kata brabeo you? Why would you let anybody cheat you out of the beauty of living? Because they want you to live up to a moral checklist that they've established that's been stamped and approved by the world. 22, which all, this is amazing, which all of them, all three of them, all three of them concern things that are going to perish with the using according to the commandments and the doctrines of men. This is amazing because Judaism was full of touch not, taste not, handle not. What you're looking at right here is a remarkable turn. This is the kind of stuff that got Paul killed. Paul said it used to be the commandment of God. But now that it's been nailed to the cross, it's the commandment and doctrine of men. In fact, it's the way the world lives. To this day, the world's high standard of morality is the Ten Commandments. In the schools of America, we're always in a battle to put the Ten Commandments on the walls of the public schools in America. I have never voted yes on the measure. Let me tell you why. Because the last thing I want to do is subject the American school children to a law that has been nailed to the cross so that they can go under the basic elementary principles of the world of performance and justify themselves on whether or not they can keep any of those 10. Because they're going to be condemned every day of their lives. And we think it'll make them moral. Didn't work for Israel. Why will it work for 16-year-old Americans? It won't work for any of us. Oh man, I'd much rather John 3:17 get put up in the hallways of the American school. Oh, everybody knows John 3:16. For God so loved the world, He gave His only begotten Son, whosoever believes in Him shall not perish, but have everlasting life. But then verse 17, for the Son of Man came into the world not to condemn the world, but that the world through Him might be saved.